Hey there. This is Dr. Pam Perry, and you know what time it is. It is the speaker reveal where the pages actually come to light. So, our June cover girl is JJ Conway, who is we're going to be going through the pages and talking about her event that's coming up in the DFW area. So, let's bring up JJ Conway. Yay!
Dr. Pam Perry, how are you
Oh, I'm
today?
doing good. I'm doing good. Listen. So I want people to know what you're doing right now, like at this moment. Where are you? What's going on? You're not in your normal studio. So what's going on right now?
Actually, I'm at the Las Colinas Country Club. I've just been inducted as the board member for the North National Speaker Association North Texas chapter. So if I'm a little echoey, that's why. But hey, that's okay. It's worth the hear. It's worth the listen. We're going to be talking about some really great stuff and some really phenomenal speakers today.
Yes. So one of the main things too, I want to make sure that people know that you are a three-time cover girl, once, twice, three times a lady, right? So she's been on the cover because she's always promoting her Juneteenth Legacy event. And before we kind of get into that, I want people to really understand your story, JJ, about why you started it, why you have the podcast, Ladies of Wealth, why you do the Juneteenth, why George Fraser is a part of it, Boyce Watkins, all of those things. So give us a backstory of Lieutenant Colonel, retired, from the U.S. Air Force about your backstory. It's so good. And it really talks about your why in your ministry and all of that.
Thank you so much, Pam, for this opportunity. And thank you for being such a world-class PR firm that I want to be on the cover for June as long as you will let me.
Yes. And Juneteenth, it stays a holiday. That is part of it too, because you're pushing it out there to make it continue to stay. Because in the real life, it could go away where it's not a federal holiday anymore.
Oh,
So,
they're pushing for it to go away. But we were a conference before it was a holiday. And so we would continue to be a conference even afterwards.
oh,
So,
good.
but from my perspective and my story and why these concepts are so important to me, there's two really key aspects of my story that contribute to this. And the first was as a cadet at the Air Force Academy, I was told that I could not declare my major as physics because they were under the impression that blacks can't do physics. And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it till 25 years later in my doctoral pursuit that there had been a Department of Defense report that went out a couple years before I went to the Air Force Academy that said even though a few blacks had excelled in areas such as flying or logistics and supply, that overall the race was not capable of higher level thinking and leadership. And so I didn't know that at the time. All I knew at the time was you're telling me I can't do something that the requirements say I can do. And so I did push my way through that and was able to not only obtain my physics degree with a concentration in space, but when I graduated, I was the #1 space physics graduate and the #5 overall and
Yeah.
the president of the Physics and Astronomy Club. And then I went on to do physics in the Air Force for 23 years in a career that no one looked like me and very rarely had my gender. And so that's the first obstacle that I had to overcome as a black woman in the Air Force. And
Mhm.
fast forward towards the end of my career, or towards the middle of my career, I came home from a 6-month military trip to find my house sold, stuff thrown out. My ex had gone on to, capture college girls with his wavy hair, and I had to find a place to live and learn how to be a military single mom with over $800,000 of debt.
Eight
And
hundred thousand dollars in debt. Did you all hear that? I'm talking like $800,000 in debt. Okay,
this
so this is after a career, basically a whole career. So go on, JJ. I want people to really get that because yeah, that's major.
and think about how so many of us, like so many of our parents, worked so hard for us to have better lives than they had and to not be the statistics that they were. And in one fell swoop, my degrees didn't matter. Nothing really mattered. I had 800,000 little smiley faces laughing at me and saying, "You failed, you failed." And then I had to look at this reality that here I am. I'm everything that I said I was never going to be, a black single mom trying to get assistance, making money, but I can't pay my bills, having to call up my creditors and say, I cannot pay you. And just the shame of being a third generation person, having to ask for help and not being able to sustain myself economically was really, it was just gut wrenching because everybody in my lineage had worked so hard so
Mhm.
that my generation wouldn't have to struggle. And here I was. And
And so
so,
how did you get out of it?
well, people get surprised, but I had to learn how to hustle. But in for me, having a top secret nuclear clearance, I had to learn how to hustle ethically and in a way that was consistent with my degree. And I'm not suggesting that everyone out there making big money is unethical. But when you're in a bind, it's funny how all the unethical methods show up in your face.
Mhm.
And so I learned how to, I had started several network marketing businesses. I did what's called picking, where you buy things at yard sales and, and then you resell it. And then
Kinda
once
like
I made,
eBay.
what's that?
Kinda like eBay, but in real life.
Yeah, well, eBay was brand new back there, and I didn't have good success with eBay because the shipping really gets you.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
but it's all good. 'Cause everybody's got their own. But once I made some money, I discovered that I was really good at teaching people how to get out of debt. And
Ah,
so I made more money teaching people how to get out of debt, even though I was still in debt. And then I took those funds and went to go get my financial certificate at George Mason University.
wow.
And
Wow.
Dr. Pam, that's where I learned so many tricks that the wealthy use to keep the poor poor and ensure their lineage stays wealthy.
Wow. That's where that passion came from. Like, I'm just telling all the methods. I'm not keeping any secrets. You're sharing it. That became your ministry. That became like your light bulb moment, so to speak, where you really started and you help people clear up their credit and all those kind of things as well.
Yes, and we do help people clear up their credit. We help people buy houses that are not in a position to be able to go to the bank and get a loan. We teach methods for creative real estate acquisition. And my big focus and what distinguishes me from a lot of others who teach financial strategies and real estate is that I teach people how to do it without increasing debt. So,
Mm,
so you might take over somebody else's loan to get into a house when you couldn't get a bank loan to get into a house. But I'm not teaching people to create new loans for their investments. And what I find is when you structure your finances in a certain repeatable pattern, you can have good peace at night and your money can grow and begin to work for you. And
mhm.
so we don't get a lot of that education.
No.
Many of us did not grow up with parents who were wealthy. I mean, my grandparents came to the United States as children, and then they did the best they could, and my parents did the best they could, and I did the best I could. But even I, at the time of that divorce, was making six figures and didn't really know all of these principles. And then I get in there and find out all the tricks that are being used, and I'm like, wait a second, somebody has to share this with our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have an obligation, but I am thankful for the calling to be able to share the information with as many people who are willing to take it in and work to get their legacy established.
That's the
And
calling.
that whole situation of being lied to most of our lives about how money works and why they make it so complicated and they make it seem like nobody can figure out money. You got to pay them to take care of your money. That reminded me so much of the Juneteenth story of
Mm,
the slaves in Texas who for 2.5 years were free, but they weren't told they were free.
mm, mm, mm.
And many of us have talents and abilities to go out and do great things and secure financial legacy for our family, to build multiple streams of income. And yet the establishment will tell us that we're not smart enough, that we don't have the talent, that we ought to be thankful for every little handout that we get. And I'm with Dr. Boyce Watkins and Dr. George Fraser. Not so. We can take charge of our lives and take charge of our financial future.
That is it. And one of the things too, when you do the Juneteenth conference, this year it is going to be, what is the actual location of it as well? It's the
We
name of
will
the
be at Wed Spaces in
Red
Fort Worth.
Spaces, in Fort Worth. And so people can actually join, they can join virtually and they can also come in person as well.
Yes, they can. They can come in person at Wed Spaces on Friday of the conference. We do our Black Veterans Brunch. That's how we close out our conference every year. And this year it'll be the Black-owned hotel called Hotel Dryce, which is our hotel for the event. It's a boutique hotel here in Fort Worth.
I love
And
it.
I'm very excited to be able to connect with every vendor that's involved in this conference is Black-owned this year. And
Wow.
that's always been my goal is everybody is Black owned and we are
Mhm.
supporting our own.
It's hard to find a Black-owned hotel, so I applaud you on that because just that they made it through to this point to surviving COVID, opening, that kind of thing. That's really like the main thing. And so George Fraser, you mentioned Boyce Watkins. Who are some of the other speakers as well?
Yes, I'm so excited. Dr. Watkins gave us a little greeting for our guests, but we have Dr. George Fraser doing our opening keynote. We have a couple other amazing speakers who are first to desegregate their school or the first to do fly Air Force One with the air as a permanently assigned personnel as a Black person. I mean, we've got some history makers, movers, and shakers. We also have Brother Bedford from Masters of Business who will
Mhm.
be coming in and giving us our closing interview. So it's going to
Oh,
be a
good.
time. It's going
And
to be
then
a
tell us about the grandmother of Juneteenth as well.
okay. So I got to tell y'all, when I scheduled this conference to be in Fort Worth, we move around every year. Next year will
Yep.
be Tulsa. The year after that is Kansas City. When I scheduled this to be in Fort Worth, Juneteenth was not yet a holiday. I just knew this was the year I was supposed to retire from the Air Force. Many of you know it happened a little earlier for medical reasons, but this was the year I was supposed to retire and move to Texas. I had no idea that Ms. Opal Lee, the grandmother of Juneteenth, was going to walk from city to city advocating for Juneteenth to be a holiday, advocating to get
Mhm.
the national recognition it deserves, advocating for the National Juneteenth Museum, which is underway here in Fort Worth and will be opening soon.
Yes.
And she does a commemorative walk every year. And so we are actually kicking off our in-person conference at her walk. And so if you're around the world and you want to join virtually, you can still join her walk virtually. Now, look, your t-shirt may not get there, but that's okay. You can walk in solidarity and support this woman and her causes. She runs the
Mhm.
Opal Lee's Farm, which helps urban youth understand the farm to table cycle and be empowered that they can grow their own food. And
Mhm.
as you can imagine, right now, such programs are under attack from the
Yeah.
government. Programs are losing
The Black
funding
farmers.
left and right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's important for us to support these efforts.
Yes, Monique, Dr. Monique Fleming says, congratulations. This is so powerful. Thank you, Dr. Monique, for joining us today. Juneteenth Legacy, you can actually register and watch it. It's complimentary. It is her ministry, it is her service for us to do that. So make sure that you register that as well so that you can actually watch it. And then within the magazine is more of her story. But I want to make sure mute your mic for a second, JJ. Okay, yeah. I want people to understand that this is so powerful. JJ is doing this. She's done it before Juneteenth was a holiday. She was doing this. It wasn't like in Texas because she's trying to commemorate Black Lives Matter or any of that kind of thing. This is out of her story of a calling that she has or an anointing that she has really to help people get out of debt, to realize multiple streams of income. One of the main things that we're free, but we have to be financially free so that we can go on and support our community, do the things that we need to do. We should have multiple Black owned hotels. We should have multiple Black successful businesses. We should have multiple uh, let's talk about life insurance a little bit because I know JJ talks about that as well. Because we don't want to always have a GoFundMe when someone passes, or you want to have that legacy of when people, um, leave generational money. How life insurance can really be that bridge. So, kind of talk a little bit. I'll mute you now, so and I'll mute myself. So, tell us.
Thank you for bringing that up, Pam. Life insurance is one of the easiest ways for a family to transfer wealth to the next generation. I believe that life insurance is one of the ways that we say, I love you to our families after we are gone. And even if someone can't afford or does not need, because not every situation needs the high end insurance products, but all of us can afford term insurance. and especially if we're young, it's less than a Starbucks a month if
Yes.
when you're young. And
Yes.
so these little tiny movements into our future, they will pay huge dividends later. There's
Mhm.
not one of us under the sound of my voice who shouldn't be able to leave at least 500,000, $1 million to our children upon
Mhm.
our death.
That is key. That is key. That is how people build wealth. Her internet stopped a little bit, and hopefully she'll come back. But what she said, leaving 500,000 to $1 million, and I'm talking especially to those in their 20s and their 30s and even your 40s. Get the term life insurance and get that policy so that you can leave the legacy that JJ really advocates and talks about. Go, you come on forward, JJ. Unmute.
And so the thing for well, the other thing I want to say about insurance before we move on to another topic is that we don't grow up with some of these strategies,
No,
so we don't really think about them. We grow up robbing Peter to pay Paul. Not all of us, but many of us grow
yeah,
up
no,
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
because
And
we're like
it's
first generation of those going to college really and doing those kind of things. I mean, we're talking like 50 years ago or more that we just really had the full rights, the civil rights. So now we're talking about economic privileges that we should be having.
Well,
Or
let's talk a little bit about college because it's the same issue as insurance. Many of us think, "Oh my goodness, if I can just get my kid to college, they're going to get this highfalutin job and they're going to build all this wealth." But what we don't realize is when they changed the rules to allow more of us to go to college,
that's
they
wrong.
also changed the banking rules with the college and student loans to be
Yeah.
able to siphon wealth out of us. So they're like, yeah, hey, go to college. And by the way, we've got our hooks in you, and it's going to take 20 years before you can actually go out and buy a house because now you got to pay these loans back.
Mm,
And while others are building the wealth upon a foundation of existing wealth that their parents left, we're increasing in debt upon a foundation of debt that we started our lives in. So
wow.
these strategies, understanding how to go to college without debt, understanding how to obtain an insurance policy, understanding how some of us a little later in life and got a few hard knocks, how maybe we can't get the insurance we want. What can we do to pass that legacy on? These are real issues we need to talk about. And nobody cares about us like we're going to care about us. And it's
Mm-hmm.
time for us to take care of each other and actually get the education we need and move forward.
That is, we're talking with JJ Conway. She is the cover girl for this month's June magazine. I want to give a shout out to Brian. That was one of the reasons why he pulled together Black Speakers Network. Brian Olds is the president of Black Speakers Network. And every month we do a cover reveal where we dig in deep to the cover story that's on here. And yeah, thank you, Monet. And Monet is our producer, helping us in the background getting that. But if you go to speakersmagazine.com and scrolling across the bottom, you'll be able to read the entire story. And also, her videos are embedded inside as well. So you can read about her podcast, which is Ladies of Wealth. .com, and also to join her mailing list, all the things that she offers. We're going to talk about her. Yeah, there it is, her Ladies of Wealth podcast. Tell us a little bit about what Ladies of Wealth podcast is about, because you have had some really, really, it's not just all financial too, it's about mental and emotional as well.
Yes, a lot of the mental and emotional is really tied into our money. Many people think their money problems are because they don't have enough money. Very few people who have ever come to me with money problems, the problem was actually the money. More money would help, but a lot of times more money hurts because what's going on with our money is usually the deeper issues that we are using money to put a band-aid or to self-care, and rather than dealing with those deeper issues. So we do spend a lot of time on mindset and healthcare. In fact,
Mhm.
one of my recent guests is H.G. Tudor, one of the world's foremost experts on narcissism and psychopathy. And so he is walked us through how high earning women become ensnared by narcissists. And just to hear his explanations reminds me of so many of my clients that have come to me like, I was on this path and I met this perfect man and this happened or that happened, or I was on this path and I met this amazing woman and then this happened and that happened, and the next thing you know, the tables have been turned. But again, it's not about the money, it's about the mindset and the
Mindset.
heart set.
And that's really, it's a spiritual money. It's a spiritual property. So people really have to understand that. So the cover of this month, we had the first cover behind you, the second cover behind you. And I do want to give a shout out to Che, because he did all of the photos. Che Brown, he did all of the photos for the photo shoot for you as well. So our community of speakers, he's a part of BSN, Black Speakers Network, part of Speakers Magazine, all of us. Dr. Sherwood, she was on the cover as well, so she's part of that group as well. I think she spoke at your conference one year as well. And then you also have some other people that Dexter Jenkins, I think, spoke one year virtually. I think we're going to have some other people speaking virtually as well. But the whole point of it is really to make sure that people understand how to leverage what they have to leave a legacy for their family. It would be a disservice for us to live our life and then the next generation have to start from zero. That's what we're talking about, life insurance. That's what we're talking about, the mindset. But JJ also teaches this. She's a teacher and she has books as well. So tell us about some of the books that you have as well before we kind of go through and dig through the issue.
Well, I'm going to say about my books, I'm working on my 14th book right now. Just
Wow.
like Clark Howard always says, when people say, I can't find your older books, he's like, it's because they're not very good. So, sometimes you learn by doing. But I do love to share the information. I feel like the Lord has given me a gift to be able to teach others and given me
Mhm.
a calling to be able to equip them to succeed. And so between the podcast and the courses and the conferences that we hold, we're able to reach people through the different avenues that speak to them. So we have people through the books that may never go on YouTube or TikTok. We have people on those social media channels that may never pick up a book, not because they don't want to read, but because they don't have time, or they like to see things visually. And so we really try to meet people where they are and make money simpler than we've been taught all our lives. Because
Yes.
everything out there, not everything, but all these corporations and such, they have a vested interest in making us feel like we can't understand money. Because if
Mhm.
they make us feel like we can't understand it, then it's easy to give up hope. And what I'm doing through this conference is giving people hope. Yes, the deck is stacked against you. Let me say that again. Yes, the deck is stacked against you, but that doesn't mean you have to lose. There are strategies to succeed, even when systemic racism or racial bias in your community makes it hard to open up a business or makes it hard to even do business. And these people in these conferences, and as well as the speakers we've had in the past, and on this circuit, if I may, the circuit, Dr.
Mhm.
Cheryl's SpeakerCon, Dr. Fraser's Power Networking, Dr.
Mhm.
Watkins All Black National Conference, even Dr. Pam's Speak, Sell, Shine. All of
Mhm.
these products are helping us to tell our message and capture our share of the market in a world where they say we can't succeed.
Well, it's because we started behind. Okay, we started behind. So if we had gotten the 40 acres and a mule when Black people were quote unquote free, that probably would have leveled the playing field. So give us some history, kind of like I guess in the George Fraser and the Boyce Watkins kind of tone, the history of the why we say systemic. It's like, oh, are people just not like Black people? No, it's systemic. We were brought here to build the economy of another country without us ever having to really participate. Remember, at a certain point in time, the main thing that happened in our history is that it was illegal to read. So when
Yeah.
you can't read, knowledge is power. So give us the history that I love the Black press. So this is like, I can go off on this all day, but give us a synopsis of where we are now. And you said something real interesting about, oh, okay, yeah, come to college and get these loans, and that'll ensnare you. So give us why there is systemic and why we're behind 400 years, or how that happens. The 1619 project, which I really, really love, but we don't have to go back that far. But just give us a snapshot of you what you see, and then how to solve it.
Well, okay, thank you so much for that question. The one of the things that we're seeing in our lifetime, every time we move a little bit forward, there's like a backlash, and it pushes us way back. And move a little bit forward, push way back. Move a little bit forward, push
That's
way back.
that's
Fought for
happening
civil
now.
rights.
Hmm.
What's that?
That's happening now.
That's exactly what's happening now. And the sad part about it is I have mentors who called it when President Obama was first elected. They're like, here's what's going to happen, and here's what you need to do to protect yourself. And so, one of the things that I will be talking about is how to future proof your life and future proof your business. Because, and this is also why I have the very unpopular opinion in Black spaces that I don't think we were ready for reparations. And so, that's the very unpopular position. But I've lived in places where I've had one client come to me, and her family has slave lands that were granted to her family when they achieved freedom, and then what little bit by little bit those lands are being eroded. Either the other people are using the laws to siphon the slave lands onto their own, or people are taking slave lands and selling their interests in that plot, which then, you've got, between a family, you've got 100 acres, 600 acres. One family came to me with 600 acres, and somebody sold their interest for $5,000, and that turned out to be almost 50 acres. And so
Wow.
a lot of what's happening to us right now is those of us who've achieved something, or our parents have achieved something, or the families that were smart enough to hold on to slave lands, which many weren't, and sometimes not through their own fault, but they didn't know the games that were being played.
Hmm.
One of the problems we're having is all of that is being siphoned back into traditional communities, not our communities. Similarly with the college. So whenever the government says we're here to help, I always have to be a little concerned about, are you really here to help? And so you
Hmm.
think about, if you just think about the history in the 1800s, when we finally got, some level of freedom, and all these Black people were elected into office, it was quickly followed by the backlash of Jim Crow.
It was.
And then people got the right to vote, and then the backlash, oh, you're not going to be able to use that right. And then people got this and can't use it. People got that and can't use it. I don't know what's coming down the pike next, but I know that there are families who have found a way to succeed economically despite the ups and downs. And
Hmm.
some of these companies, like your funeral directors and your hair care products and things like that, offer us some valuable insight as to how we can be part of sustaining the next generation, instead of just hoping that our job doesn't fire us the next time something like this happens.
That's good. Then talk about our churches, because a lot of the seatbed, so to speak, of movements are in the churches. So a lot of ministers or churches own their property, or you were saying that people own property. They can put it in a trust, and I guess that's some of the things you'll talk about. Put the church deed in a trust so that if something happens to the church, that it's always there. So talk a little bit about that, and some of the strategies that you teach about living trusts or trusts, or I'm speaking out of turn. So I'm a journalist, so I don't know, but I know that there's certain parts of the financial thing that you learn that you teach.
I do, and I want to preface this with two things. First of all, I am a pastor, so anything that I say that may be kind of disparaging towards the church does not in any way reflect my relationship with the
Yeah.
Lord. I love the Lord and I love His people, but I find that many churches do not want God's people to win with money, and part of that's because they do not execute the affairs of their church with God's wisdom. They take on too much debt, or they get excited about the large amount of tithes and offerings coming in, and then they seek into investments or spread themselves too thin, helping members create their businesses and invest in certain things. And they're not following sound guidelines. And then we have so many churches that lose money and
Yeah.
lose lands. And
Yeah.
so I actually recommend churches and businesses follow the same financial guidelines that I would recommend for a family. It's the actions are the same. The
Hmm.
terminology is a little different in the business space. And
Hmm.
so when we have these church lands, it breaks my heart when another church is like, well, we don't have enough people. We're going to have to sell off this land. And I'm like, no, let's figure out how to reach out to the community more, be what the community needs, and get some of those grant dollars and the community dollars to keep the land, because land is precious. And this is
Land is land is how you build wealth. That is so true. And a lot of times people think, this is just church in particular. A lot of pastors will say, well, if I just build a really, really big church, really exciting edifice, that people will come, build them and people will come. That's not true. So now they've got all this debt, and there's nothing worse than saying a church had to go out of business or a church had to give it back to the bank. That's not a good thing. So one of the things you do is you teach people those ways where, like you said, the same thing for a family. You would actually teach ministers as well about legacy building, wealth building, because from generation to generation, just like funeral homes, it went from one family to another family to another family. So you never want to leave the family with debt. You want them to start building from up, building up and growing. And that's one of the main things that you talk about at Juneteenth. You also talk about at the Juneteenth celebration, you've got 3 days. So you've got the run with I can't think of her name again. Say it again.
Oh, the walk with Opal Lee Thursday.
Walk with Opalee on Thursday, and then the next day, Friday, is the sessions.
Is our well so our we open up Wednesday with a VIP meet and greet, and then we
VIP.
have a
Okay, I missed it.
Voices of Legacy anthology. So we'll do our author showcase
Yes.
Wednesday night following the
Okay.
VIP meet and greet, and then we roll into our conference all day Thursday. But with this year, because we're in Fort Worth and because of the new Juneteenth National Museum and their first ever Freedom Vibes Festival, we have incorporated aspects of that. So we start off walking with Opal Lee. We have our main conference from 11 to 4. Then we have dinner, and then we participate in the Freedom Vibes Conference with Orchestra North from Atlanta is coming in, and then they've got events all weekend. We're going to have the Black Veterans Breakfast Friday morning. Then we're going to go see a behind the scenes cattle drive and actually watch them drive the cattle and learn how they do the real longhorns and all that. I mean, it's going to be a real Texas
That's
experience.
the Texas thing. Yes.
Everywhere we go, we try to incorporate the locality and really get a feel for what's going on. But I am so excited that and the reason I mentioned Freedom Vibes is because not only are we utilizing some of their events, but there is partnership like I haven't seen before with so many of the entities in town that normally host their own Juneteenth events that are like, okay, we're going to come together as a committee and we are going to support this.
I love
And
that.
so I'm very excited for that camaraderie, because that's exactly what we need to make change for our future generations.
I want to say I know a little bit behind the scenes. She's been birthing this for a while, and how the divine hand of God is on it. Because at the beginning, some of the things that she had planned, they didn't go as planned. But I just like how you just kept stepping forward. That's the persistence. You read about it more in the magazine in the full, but the persistence of that she's doing this. She had so many roadblocks at the beginning, and things out of her control, things closed, whatever that couldn't happen. But it's all happening now like it should. So let's kind of go through the issue page by page, and then kind of let you go, because I know you're doing a run through with everybody everybody there where you are. So Juneteenth Legacy, people can go there, but we're going to go through the magazine right now. The cover I just love. Again, a shout out to Che Brown who did the cover, but we're also celebrating 8 years of magazine is the number one magazine for Black speakers. And that's part in partnership with Black Speakers Network as well. So I really, really appreciate Brian. We have been partners 7 years. Our first year, we were kind of like out on our own. So we're celebrating 8 years of magazine, but 7 years with BSN. And BSN, I believe, is celebrating 9 years. I believe they're celebrating 9 years. We're celebrating 8 with the magazine. But the main point of the conference is building Black wealth at the Juneteenth Legacy Conference. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you're here, you can see, if you hover over Monet a little bit over you'll see that there's going to be videos in each of the online issues. So when you go to speakersmagazine.com, hit online issue, you'll actually see the videos. Kind of click a little bit so that they can kind of see which video it is. I think this video is our interview, JJ, from a while ago. Yeah, this was this was our very first cover. And again, you will always learn a little bit more about JJ on each issue. So that's the thing. You want to make sure that you go in there, and you could download the issues as well if you want to do that, or you could subscribe if you want to go to the magazine. You can also read it online. So yeah, so that's good. So let's go to the next page. And within the inside, we talk a little bit more about Speak, Sell, Shine. JJ was talking about. It's not so much, I don't think that we have a problem with speaking. In order for our speaking platform to be successful, we need PR, which is the shine, but the main thing you need is sales. So, Speak, Sell, Shine is an event where we actually pull together marketing materials for you every October at Howard Theater, as well as sales training, and also give you PR and meet the media at the National Press Club. So that happens every October. This year, I believe it's 6th and 7th. You can go to speaksellshine.com and apply. It's a small group of people, but we do the press club dinner. Do media interviews. We do media training. We do red carpet. Obviously, we do the TEDx style talk, and we create video for you out of that content as well as photos. So it's a full 2 days. This year, I'm trying to make sure that people can leave there and not feel so tired, because like we got so much done. It's like, okay, I have had where I don't want people to leave a conference. It's like, oh, I'm just so tired. So we're trying to make it a little bit wider as well. The Rhythm is a movie that is Detroit. Producer Gerald McBride, who's also a radio host here in Detroit. His first movie, The Rhythm, won a lot of awards, and now it's on Prime Video, Apple TV. It's a story about a black ice player. It's based on a true story. A black hockey player. I'm sorry, black, not ice player, black hockey player, and it's called The Rhythm. And one of the things he taught these urban kids how to ice skate, because they were very good at roller skating. They had the rhythm, that's where they came from. But they weren't never exposed to the ice skating, which is a whole nother thing. And then there's a love story twist in it as well. So anyway, so let's go to the next one. So check out The Rhythm as well. There's a trailer. Oh, go back, Monet. I'm sorry. There's a trailer of the movie here. So kind of click there. It's Samuel Goldwyn trailer, because they really just got it there, the official trailer, so people can actually watch it. It's really good. I won't don't let me talk too long about movies, because I give a spoiler all the time. So if people say, why did you tell everybody? And there's a highlight reel there that people can watch as well from Speak So Shine. The next page, I always love to show this picture of JJ and I, where we had met at Dr. Stacy NC Grant's event. That was where we had met in person, per se. And we were actually at Faithpreneur Conference. And then also to Dr. George Frazier, I was at his event, Power Networking Conference. And that's when we first debuted our first issue in 2017. And then Nikichi's been a cover girl a couple of times during February, Black History Month. And she wrote an article, which is on our website, about the Juneteenth. And she's a big reparations advocate. I'm going to let JJ talk about what she said, so we can understand what she said, that she's pro. She said she's not against preparation. You said something that we want to make sure that we're ready for it. So kind of explain what you said about reparations.
It's such a delicate balance for me, because are we owed reparations? Absolutely, we're owed reparations. This nation owes us a huge debt of gratitude in finances and other areas of our life that were purposely stinted so that we could remain slaves, and even after slavery ended, so that we could remain servile. So I absolutely feel that we are owed a huge debt to this nation, and reparations should eventually happen. My concern is, and in serving the communities that I serve, what I have observed is, if you were to give everybody in the Black community $1 million today, my biggest concern is it'll be back into majority hands next year.
So it needs to be more education first. I get you. I get you
That's what I would
exactly.
like to see: education, and then
Hmm.
not, and then the foundation of businesses. So like, once you learn how to start a profitable business, then you can go on to start more. I'd rather our young people learn how to start profitable businesses, understand how business works, understand how real estate investment works, understand how the stock markets work. And then once the reparations come that we're owed, if ever, they
It's
will be
safe.
able to utilize them in the way they need to be utilized. And if the reparations never come, they'll still be able to pass on a legacy to their family.
I love that. If they never, they'll still be able to pass on legacy. That's true. It's almost like someone who wins a lottery and they never had any money before, and then they can quickly go through it because they weren't taught how to manage it or how to multiply it. So I understand what you're saying, but yeah, reparations is something that is owed to us from way back. Every other nationality has really gotten it, but African Americans, Indians, I mean, Jews, every other nationality. Okay, so if you do the history of that, it's not like we're asking for something. Hawaiians even, they were given that. They have a tax break. I think it's a tax break where they can buy houses or something tax free for. It's a lot of different ways to really maneuver it. Chicago has a version of reparations as part of the that went through, but it is something that has to be JJ's mission is to really teach people about how to create generational wealth, how to really manage it, and really understanding the spiritual, the mental, the emotional side of money. And that's really the part of it. And so some of her speakers that she has at this event, Dr. George C. Fraser, the godfather of Black networking. So I'll give my George Fraser story. He actually did the forward for our Speak Up book as well. He was the first cover, but I met George when I was in college, just right out of college. And I helped him put together the Success Networking book, which was like a directory before the internet of all Black professionals. And his dream was to bring all the Black professionals together to work together so that we can build wealth. And this was way over 30 years ago. So he's been talking the same message for a long, long time. And the first book he wrote is Success Runs in Our Race. So I helped him with that particular book, promoting that book. And then he wrote another book, Race for Success, and he wrote Click. And one of the main things is that he just is a firm believer that if we work, we have everything we need within our community. We just have to know how to rely on each other and support each other. So how did you meet Dr. George C. Fraser?
I actually met Dr. George C. Fraser through Dr. Boyce Watkins' All Black National Conference. One year, the conference was wherever I was stationed. And at the time, I was a single Black mom with a young Black boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And I knew that I could never be a father. And I also knew that my perspectives for remarriage were pretty slim at that time. I mean, that didn't turn out to be true, but I didn't ever think I was going to be able to have anybody. So I was always, that didn't come out right. But anyway, I was always trying to take my son where he could be around successful Black men.
Yeah.
And so when Dr. Watkins was close by, I bought my son the VIP upgrade, and there's my little kid sitting around this big table of all these business owners networking. And now he's grown and he's got his own little business, and
Oh,
you think he's
good.
all independent, don't need his mama as much, but that'll come around. I'm just happy he's standing on his own 2 feet. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
But at that conference, we met Dr. Fraser, who I don't even remember what he said. But Philip was like, I have to get a picture with him.
Ooh.
And for years, that picture was one of Philip's pride and joys. I got a picture with this Black billionaire. And I don't know Dr. Fraser's net worth at that time, but all I know is whatever he said to my son and whatever he's spoken to his life has borne fruit over the years in
Wow.
a message that I could not put into my son no matter how much I tried.
I love that. That's why I love speakers. I'm just saying that. Just generally, speakers will change your life. They really will. George probably doesn't remember what he said to your son, but it changed his life. And I remember George saying something to me, changed my life. One of the people that really spoke to me when I was in college was a man by the name of Dr. Percy Sutton. He was an attorney for Malcolm X, but he also owned WLBS. And I remember hearing him in college that he said, you can have a great resume and you can have all the accolades and you can have a fine GPA. But if I see that you're not a part of the NAACP or the SCLC or any other Black organization that is helping to advance Black people, I will write you a nice letter and say, thank you so much. You have done really great in your service, but you can contact me again when you are in service to our Black people so that I know that you are really committed to helping and lifting up others. When I tell you, when I heard that, I was like, my resume didn't have any of that. I was just like told in college that you need to do this, you need to do that, and take off the showing that you're so black. But he said something that just really changed me, and I became really involved in the National Association of Black Journalists. I started some organizations, Blacks in Advertising, Radio, and Television, which is where I met George. I mean, it became the fire under why I did what I did, and even now, Speakers Magazine is a magazine for African American speakers. That was years ago, okay, decades ago. So speakers, speak your truth. You never know who's going to hear it. Thank God that we have video now, but at a certain point in time, we don't know what your message is going to say. And so continue to do your conferences, continue to speak, continue to let people find you by being in the magazine, join with other speakers like Black Speakers Network. You want to make sure you're doing that. And make sure you go to JuneteenthLegacy.com. Okay, let's go to the next page. But yeah, we had to give our Godfather Black Networking, how we met him. Jennifer Ponder, she is an AI. Oh my goodness, I heard her speak last week. When I tell you, a technology trailblazer, really involved in STEM, super, super smart, and really uh we're at a crossroads now, going into a whole nother area of AI and technology. She's a coder from way back, and she does all that kind of stuff, but now she's really into a whole nother part of it, and you've got to watch her video that is embedded in there about Jennifer and where she's going. She's out of, I want to say she's out of Atlanta. That's where she is. But Jennifer, oh my God, she's a trailblazer. I mean, she's breaking barriers. And really, one of the things is that she just wants to bring other people along in terms of that tech area. Because, that area could be Silicon Valley can be very um, black or white, and it's not trying to bring in any diversity. So she's one of the ones that's breaking the barrier, and she's involved with NASA technology as well. You would love her because she's a science girl. Okay, you would love her. She has that whole thing. So yeah, so that's it. And then Jimna, her main thing is that she is in every year. She's in Speakers Magazine in June, and she gets booked in the fourth quarter between Thanksgiving and Christmas because of this particular ad. People are looking for people for their corporate events to be a Santa Claus or an MC, and she does that, and she flies all over the country. She says, "I'm in here for every June," and people book me. They see me that she basically she has a business, but one of the main things she loves to do is she does it for nonprofits or corporations where she goes in. It's like the Santa Claus. So everybody has to have their own thing that is unique, and that is really her thing that's unique. All right, so let's go to the next one here. I want to thank Miss Heilig. She says, this is phenomenal. JJ is a dynamic speaker. Yes, she is. She is. Oh my God, she is. This right here is her story. I love that pink outfit that you have on there too, my lady. That is really, really cute. But it talks about how, again, trailblazing a voice for wealth, legacy, and liberation, a military might to money mastering. And, I always say that out of everything that the devil meant for bad, God turned it for good. And so that when you came out of the military and had all of that debt, if that had not happened, you turned it around and now you're like a voice, a leader in that whole space. It's a lot of men that speak on financial literacy and that sort of thing, but not too many women that are doing it like you're doing it as well. It's committed to a conference and all of those type of things. So I really appreciate that. 23 years in the Air Force, retiring basically as a lieutenant colonel, and really one of her models is building wealth together. And if you understand why she says that, it's because you've got to come to that conference and listen to the podcast. Her podcast is ladiesofwealth.com, that you can actually listen to that, but also register for free, complimentary to watch it virtually, Juneteenth Legacy as well. You can do that. And it's happening Juneteenth, obviously next week. So you want to make sure that you do that as well. But you can follow her coaching. She has upcoming events. She's got an upcoming book called Master Your Money. You want to give us a little bit about what this 14th book is about? You didn't want to go into the other books, but let's talk about this 14th book that's coming
I mean, they're not all bad. Some of them are all right. My bestseller is still the 40 Dates in 4 Months that I never speak on because I chose the money lane, not the dating lane. But
up.
there you
Okay.
go. But really, what I realized is even with the other books, I didn't have one comprehensive book that really talked about all of the money topics.
Ah,
And so we had something like Fix Your Money, Find Your Honey, where, help get your self esteem up about money so you could stop repelling the kind of men that you say you want, or the kind of women you say you want. We have Authentic Abundance, about attracting into your life the life that you want. And the thing was, there was never one cover to cover like, how do we physically manage our money, how do we get the mindset that we need, what are the ways to start some income streams that don't cause us to go into debt, how can I buy a house when I have a family legacy of debt and poverty. And so that's what Master Your Money is going to be. It's going to give all of those areas. And I'm very excited about this work because it'll be one that kind of covers everything for
everything.
people.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Master Your Money. So that'll be coming out soon. So we want to make sure that you sign up and go to uh, her website or sign up so that you get the Juneteenth Legacy so she can send you an email when it does come out for sure, because that'll be coming out as well. So go to Juneteenth Legacy, sign up to get on. You'll be sending out replays too as well. So you want to make sure that you sign up there regardless. You said, well, I don't know if I can make it. Sign up anyway. Just sign up anyway so you can stay connected. So the next page we have Dr. Jonas Gatson. I think you know this guy here. Is he one of your speakers?
Dr. Jonas has spoken at almost every conference I have held since I met him in 2020. Whether it's Women's Wealth or Wealthy Me or whatever it is, he's in there, and he's been an avid supporter, and his message is so powerful. I'm so excited to have him return.
Yes, he wanted to be in this issue as well. Mr. Enthusiastic, that is him forever. He's Dr. Jonas with the bonus. He always talks about that as well. And his favorite model is, so that you know a little bit what you're gonna, it says, since greatness is possible, excellence is not enough. Go for greatness. That is it. He's so enthusiastic. So he's going to be a part of that as well. And you can read a little bit more about him. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. That's what DTM stands for. And then there's another repeat, I guess you would say, in Speakers Magazine. She has left a legacy. She's a judge. Her and her twin sister were the first African American twins to sit on the bench at the same time. Her sister passed at 40, which is over 25 years ago. And this book is a memoir in dedication to her twin sister who died suddenly from like a like complications of a heart attack and that sort of thing. So now the book has won, I think, 5 awards, and she's teaching other people how to write their memoirs as well. She's retired from a judge, but but I met her when she was an English teacher years ago in high school. So she's gone back to teaching. She became an attorney. She worked with a lot of Motown acts and that sort of thing. And she was an entertainment attorney. Her and her sister, they were featured in Ebony magazine, and they just had a whole really remarkable, again, another trailblazer in that type of community. But she's gone back to really teaching English, or so to speak, like the English teacher roots, because she loved words and teaching people how to write memoir. And her memoir is good. It's like over 200 pages, and it won 5 awards, legitimate book awards. So that's one of the cool things. So then the next page we have is Jimmy Davies. He's a tech guy as well. So we want to make sure that we're not lagging behind in these tech areas, right? So Dr. Jimmy Davis has this thing, and I think you know him, JJ. I know he's good friends with Dr. George Fraser and Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, but it's everyblack.com. So every dot black. Black is the .com. That's what that is. So every dot black. And every Monday he has a online networking meeting that he brings together people from the community to really network, kind of like George, because he's real good friends with George, to really learn how to lift and work together. So his is every.black.com. And he has a signature talk called AI 101, Understanding the Basics and Beyond. All right. So, and his testimony is that he started as a janitor and rose to really one of the top executives within the technology company. So, I really appreciate he hails out of Durham. If you are anyone who's in the Durham, his phone number is right there. You can call him. And I give you a quick story. He's in this issue. and I was getting off the plane with your issue, and I realized that I was in Durham, and I called him and I said, "Hey, I'm in Durham," and we met, and we actually met up for coffee at the studio where we're at. So yeah, so real people, you can reach out to connect them. That's why I created this. It works as uh, your network where you can reach out to people. So the same thing with Dana L. Cox on the other side. Dana is really talking about redefining leadership without the sacrifice. She has 7 children, and seven children. She birthed her own, and she's a strategist, executive coach, and business transformer. She's 25 years. She's been in the financial services industry, the tech industry, and has worked for clients like Mastercard, uh, uh, FIS, and Fifth Serve, I believe. But one of the things that she's helping people is to scale their business, especially women, how to scale their business. And when she talks about burnout, it's real. I mean, not only was she just like she started out really as an administrative assistant and worked her way up in the corporation. And now she was named as one of the Savvy Ladies Mentor of the Year. She's just helping other women just figure this whole thing out without the burnout. And you'll see if you hover over that, her video is there as well, where I actually interview her, and you could hear more of her story. Fascinating and so determined. Oh my goodness. That Dana is the real deal. I mean, when I tell you she is the real deal, she is deeply, deeply prepared to help people move forward. No excuses. That's one of the things. She's just like, hey, we're going to do this. 7 children. I'm like, she gets an award just for that. Um, single birth. We're not even talking with any sets of twins in there. She's like, nope. And I was like, oh my goodness. Then after that, we have Chris Howell, which JJ met. I'll let JJ give a little bit of background about when she talked with Chris Howell. He's hailing from the Dallas Fort Worth area as well.
You know, Pam, Dr. Pam, one of the things that I really love about the caliber of people that you put in your magazine or that you do PR for is the fact that despite how big this man is in communication and the big names that he's worked with, he still will meet you where you're at and be humble and
Yeah.
work with you to really put together what you need to
Yeah.
promote your business, your conference, or whatever it is that you've got going on. And
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know me, every time we make one of these, or even other people that have in the past, I grab the issue and I go through and I congratulate whoever's
Yep.
in there, because this is where I find my new group of chosen
Yeah.
friends and
That's
my
it.
new group of speakers, because we are all people who want to make money doing something that improves people's lives.
Yes, that's it. That is so, you know what, people need to know that the issues, all the back issues are there over the last 8 years. You can go through and just say, hey, I read your story in Speakers Magazine. I'd love to congratulate you. If you have time, let's do a virtual coffee. You and Chris actually had a conversation, and I am going to make sure that at the very least that he comes to the conference, but I would like him to actually speak. He is a golden voice. He has a television and podcast, and we do a lot of work together as well, but he's a amazing voiceover. He's interviewed people from Joel Osteen to Sarah Jakes, and people in between. So that's one of the things that Chris is really, really good at. And he really has an inspiring story. He was I don't know if he told you, JJ, but he was a teen dad. He was a teen dad, and him and his wife are still together. So that's been a long time. He hasn't been a teen in a while. I won't put out there how old he is, but it's been a few decades. It's been a few decades, and he's just a powerful man of God as well as a business person and a communicator as well. So I'm I'm glad. Reach out to him. His email is in there. It's a live link. If you go on the magazine, you can click on it there, or just go to Chris Howell communications.com. Speak Sell Shine. There's a video there. People can actually watch that. And I think hover over to Chris's. I think his video in there, Monet, open that up. Yeah. He was interviewing there Sarah Jakes. Now, this was many years ago. I think this was about 15 years ago. So there's a big difference between Sarah Jakes Roberts 15 years ago and today. But Chris interviewed her. So I put that in there. So I told him, I said, hey, you remember that? So I put that in there. And she has Women Evolve coming up in Atlanta soon, I believe in August. Her conference is coming up. And then another conference is coming up. That's speaksellshine.com. That's coming up in October. But there's another conference coming up in Texas. The last page is this one right here. We've got Yes, Miss Shayla. I want to say Dr. Shayla, but it's Shayla Atkins. And hers is Leadership Redefined Conference as well. You can scan the QR code there and actually go to Leadership Refined Conference and really learn how to. She was just in really like big in the DEI space and HRs. Now she has a whole conference that's really talking about how to leverage those words that we can't quote unquote use as much anymore. But those are it's a whole nother story. But now we're talking about redefining, okay, leadership redefined, because we still need diversity, we still need inclusion, we still need equity. But the how she's redefining it so that in this political climate, it's still relevant. And what are your thoughts, really quick, about DEI, JJ?
If it wasn't for affirmative action programs, I would have never been allowed to go to the Air Force Academy.
Yep.
And so
Mhm.
for me, programs that help level the playing field are very important. I was more qualified than most of my classmates to be there at the Air Force Academy, yet I would not have been in without those programs. And so when I look at what's going on in the DEI space, the inclusion space, it breaks my heart that throughout all these years we haven't been able to show the value of such programs. But I almost look at this turmoil as a blessing in disguise, because one of the biggest problems I've had with my military troops or with any young people that I mentor is getting them to understand that there is a problem. The
Mhm.
problem is that the deck is stacked against you. Well, now they are starting to see, as that pendulum has swung the other way and all these DEI programs have been cut. And even though these programs proportionally affect white women more than any other people group, it's still lauded as a necessary evil. Well, I'm just going to have to take my hit because it cuts all the baby mamas and all the people who aren't doing any work. And the fact that those are still stereotypes about us. Okay, let me calm down. Let me calm down. But clearly we have an issue. And so when I saw Ms. Atkins, is it Shayla?
Shayla.
Uh,
Hmm.
when I saw her conference, I was like, this is exactly what we need, because we need to understand that if the deck is stacked against us and the programs to help us are cut, we can still be leaders and we can still take our place. And so I'm excited. I'm hoping I can make it down to Houston for her event.
I know. That's why I really wanted you all to have in there the same issue, so that, and she would love to meet you, and that's her thing. So this kind of like wraps up our issue. Let's go to our cover here, uh, and take us back to the cover. There we go. Yes, that is it. We are JJ is doing the thing. She's doing the thing. So JuneteenthLegacy.com. We're celebrating it next week. Her conference is next week. She has it every year. Next year's going to be in Tulsa. Wow. Wow.
Yes, I'm
That's
excited for Tulsa, and the year after that is Kansas City. We'll
yeah.
be we'll be incorporating the Negro League Hall of Fame, so I'm very excited about
Ooh, I
that.
love the
Yes,
partnerships. And so if people do want to apply to actually speak virtually at your conference, they can go to Juneteenth Legacy as well. So there's a lot of speakers that would like have a message they want to share. That is one of the main things. And I thank all of our commenters and people that were viewer over there as well for joining us today. And thank Brian Olds as well for allowing us to expand and be a part of Black Speakers Network, because really a lot of the speakers that are in our issue are part of BSN, and they have gotten speaking gigs from that as well. So thank you, JJ, for joining us today. This has been really, really good. JuneteenthLegacy.com. I'll let you go back to your run through with all of your speakers and all of that. And I just thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you, thank you.
Take care. All righty. Bye bye. So that is